Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where we're going to be going over the top 5 things I hate most about my GT86. We're talking about this car. I think I've brought it up a few times on the channel, which is going to be the boot. Now, the problem I have with this car is that there is plenty of space, especially once you put the back seats down. Toyota make this big point, you can fit 4 spare wheels, and only 5. 4 spare wheels and a jack in the car for your track days and that. But the problem is that because they put this tiny boot in, it's such a pain to try and fit all that stuff in, like lifting it through the car, through behind the passenger seats and all that. It's just an absolute pain to actually use any of it, so it just makes it feel a lot less practical than it actually could be. So it just feels like if you look at all the other cars for this sort of thing, like the old Sleekers and things like I got now, the hatch boot, it's just so much more usable. But I don't know, I'm assuming it's just got something to do with weight, but it's just an irritation to try and use every day and trying to get big things around. You just can't do it. Okay, and bringing us up to the second point would be the actual MPG of using this car every day. It's just one of those things which I know it's a sports car, it's not meant for it, but overall it just isn't good anywhere really. It's like you use it in a city, small city driving, it's just terrible for that because it's a non-turbo engine, it's not what they're kind of made for anymore, it's what everyone uses. But then we get to a bigger engine, same like the old coupe that I used to have, the V6, just did a lot better on the motorways, cruising, driving. I don't know why, it's okay, but it's just no good for anything really. It kind of just sits below average in every category, so it's just a bit of an irritation. It means that you're going through a lot, especially when you put your foot down, which you like to do in a vehicle like this. It just costs you a lot of money, quite a lot, which unfortunately quite happens to me quite a bit. And then bringing obviously into number 3 for the sort of day driving around, which is just the size of this vehicle. It's such a wide vehicle, it feels like, at least to me, for driving that. In the city, when you're going to like car parks, when you're going to the shops, it's an absolute nightmare because it barely fits in most parking bays these days, which I suppose is just a figment of the world that we're in, but it just makes it a bit of an irritation trying to use this as a daily driver, which is what it is for me. So it just means that it is a bit of an irritation, but it's still saying you have to kind of deal with a vehicle like this. But older cars, it's just the thing with new ones, they're just getting fatter and fatter, I suppose is the problem, a bit like me. And that kind of also brings me on to point number 4, which is going to be the actual price of these vehicles, which is just, it's very high for what it is, which is a very low-tech vehicle. I do love the fact that it's a very low-tech car, old style for that, for driving, but the price they put these days, I feel just a bit too high for what it is, when you consider things like the MX-5 and stuff like that are still down below it, and it's nowhere near as quick as cars in the same class, like your Focuses and things like that, which, as we just went through, are more practical for daily use, going to be a better MPG. They're just better usefuls at the same price, which means that sadly no one's really buying cars like this. So, like I said, it's just wish it could have been a bit cheaper for what it is. I suppose just something you have to deal with. Okay, and that brings us off to the last one, number 5, which is kind of a few little things, just really weird engineering ideas they came up with for this vehicle, or misfaults, which things like the sound noise that goes through the airbox into the footwell, which is meant to make the car sound loud and sporty and that way. It only actually sounds loud inside the car when you get it stock, which means you can't talk to your passengers that well because it's making a bunch of unnecessary noise. And no one outside the car is actually impressed by the car because from outside it just sounded like nothing when you had it stock. So that made no sense to me. And there's even things like, this is the facelift model, so this is what I got this 5 years they changed it, I think, into the design process. And there's still little things like on the windows, when you put them up, they actually create little scratches and marks on the windows going up and down, which you would have thought they would have at least been able to fix that sort of design things, which it kind of just feels like they're a bit lazy on the facelift. But like I said, I like the way it looks, but it just feels like there's some things they just overlooked or didn't really care about when it came to the car, which kind of gives you the impression that they kind of did it a bit on the cheap or didn't really care too much, which is always a shame for a car which should have had a lot of love, which a lot of love did go into it, but it feels like they just kind of cheaped out at the very end just to rush it out, sort of thing, as a facelift. But I suppose just the way it is. Okay, yeah, so obviously these are just 5 things I really dislike about using the car as my daily driver. Obviously I've had it out on track, it's great fun for that, but day to day, which is where I use it almost all the time, 90% of it at least, it's just very irritating. There's lots of little irritations, but it's, I suppose, the consequence of having a low-dunk sports Japanese vehicle, which you have to deal with using every day. So, but yeah, obviously these are just my opinions. You can let me know what you think down below, how wrong I am. Obviously, make sure you subscribe, because coming up next will be the 5 things I really love about the vehicle, because we've got to even it out with all the hate and the love. So make sure you subscribe for that, and if you did like this video, give it a like. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.